boxing.
Welcome back to the channel. I hope everybody's doing okay. I hope you got a chance to watch the Tank Rolly fight this past Saturday. I wasn't able to watch it live, but I saw the knockout, good counter punch, an okay win for Tank. The lightweight division is heating up, and once again this coming Saturday we have the undisputed fight of the year, one of the most anticipated fights this year, I think, given all the belt drama and the actual Diva division itself. We have a fantastic fight. George Kambosos Jr. versus Devin the Dream Haney in Australia. Let's talk about it.
And there's a right hand by Kambosos.
Welcome along. If you're new here, what we try to do in this channel, we talk about the fighters, we talk about their styles, their trainers. I'll put a fight prediction in and break the fight down at the end of the video. And I've also got a section called the Hurt Zone, where I'll highlight when fighters were hurt in the past, why they were hurt, and does it play a part in this coming fight this Saturday and Sunday if you're in Australia. So I'll leave timestamps on here right now and in the description box below, so you can skip to each part of the video. So anyway, before we get into the fighters, let's take a look at the tail of the tape. Okay, as you can see, Devin Haney, the younger of the two, 23 years old. George Kambosos, 28. Kambosos has a 1.5 inch height advantage, and Devin the Dream has a 3-inch reach advantage, which I will talk about in the fight breakdown at the end of the video. So definitely stay tuned for that. Both coming in at the lightweight limit, which is 135 pounds. Okay, let's start with George the Emperor Kambosos Jr. He is a great fighter, you know. He's very tenacious. I like his style. It's a little chaotic because he mixes up different styles in there. He has somewhat of a Philly shell sometimes. He's a smart, calculated pressure fighter, which is the antithesis of a Philly shell, but he sometimes deploys that. His arms are up and down and he's moving. He's got excellent range control. He's got some nice zippy hand speed. He might be the faster of the two, actually. Good counter puncher.
He's got Kambosos not being aggressive as maybe he normally is.
So he's got a stinging left hook, decent jab, and you know, he's got heart for days, and he's aggressive, and he's calculated with it, and you know, I like that. I really like that. He hasn't been on my radar for that long, I'll be honest. I remember watching the Selby fight, and then, you know, obviously the Kambosos fight, but and I went back to watch some tape, and I recently watched a few more fights. But you know, he's game. He's ready to fight. He's going to be very ready, prepared, and this is going to be a hell of a fight because of the energy both these guys bring. But Kambosos is trained by Javier Centeno, who also trains Xander Zayas, the young Puerto Rican prospect, who I guess they've been sparring with. He's down in Australia now. Centennial, I like his energy. He's a very backseat trainer, doesn't like the limelight. He's just there. He's just a good old school boxing trainer, and he's obviously doing something right with these guys, and he's obviously taking Kambosos from strength to strength, and he puts together good game plans, and he gets his guys ready, and I like that. And he's gonna have George Kambosos ready for Devin the Dream Haney, because speaking of Devin the Dream, he is, you got to give this guy some credit. You know, what, win, lose or draw, what he's doing is what boxers should be doing. Okay, there's so many boxers that are not doing what he's doing. He's the deal that he's got, and he's willing to, you know, the hoops he's willing to go through is quite remarkable. He's 23 years old. He's going to be going into the Lion's Den without his team, without his dad, whose dad was his main trainer. But I have doubts whether Bill Haney's like a technical trainer. I know he's handled his son for most of his career, but I don't know if he's like at that level where he's got that elite, or not elite, but like, you know, technical pad work and stuff like that. I suggest that's why he passes his son off to Floyd Mayweather Sr. Ben Davidson, all these people, you know, but, you know, I could be wrong. But anyway, listen, Devin the Dream Haney, flashy style, very obviously well schooled. When I say flashy, he has moments of being flashy, but he's actually quite conservative, to be honest. And I think he should fight that way a little bit. We'll talk about that in the fight breakdown. But look, he's been well schooled with the Mayweather gym. Fights a little bit like Mickey Bay, and I'm going to talk about that later because I think that's a bit of a blueprint. But he has got one of the better jabs in the game, and I think he should use that in overdrive because it's so good. It's very well educated. He uses it perfectly in many different ways, which I will discuss. Devin the Dream Haney, like, he hasn't come close to really losing, okay? And if you think about like Bivol, right? Dimitri Bivol, who hadn't come close to losing either, but hadn't also put in like a real like career defining performance until he needed to against a fighter that was really, really amazing in Canelo. So I'm wondering if, I'm not saying Kambosos is Canelo, but when you give fighters like this an opportunity to step up and really shine, and they believe in themselves and they take this deal, you know, I think that could be on the cards, to be honest with you. I think Devin the Dream, he has only ever won unanimously. I know he's flattered to deceive and hasn't really put in those eye-catching performances, but he hasn't come close to losing, you know. And he's 23, and he's doing what he's going to do. He's obviously now trained by Yoel Judah, who's his godfather, family friend for a long time, obviously, due to the fact that Ben Davidson isn't going to be there, his dad's not going to be there, so, you know, tough circumstances for this young kid, which is even more reason why you got to take your hat off to him. And even in the press conference yesterday where, you know, Kambosos was just...
This guy is an informant. This guy is a rat. I'll tell you why. I will tell you why. Because in the Teofimo Lopez fight against a foreigner, his own countryman, he was messaging me, telling me all the details, every bit.
Going on like an actor, politician. He was acting weird in that press conference. I didn't enjoy Kambosos' energy. In fact, that made me wonder even more about whether he even really wants this fight. Because speaking on like, it reminded me of when Keith Thurman was at the Pacquiao conference, right, and he started acting massively out of character. I wasn't sure who to pick then, and when I saw Keith Thurman doing that, I picked Pacquiao immediately because I was like, he's acting a bit out of character, something's wrong. I feel like Kambosos is doing the same thing. He's just like trying a bit too hard, trying to be like this big man, and I don't know, it's just weird. And the whole calling Devin Haney a rat was, he couldn't wait to do that. Did you notice that? He couldn't wait to do that. And in the meantime, you know, he's this patriotic dude and he's helping Pacquiao against, you know, Jeff Horn, his countryman, which I don't necessarily have an issue with, by the way. You know, it's how you go about doing that, I think, is one way. But if you're going to do that, you know, you can't be, you know, throwing stones at everybody else about them, you know, ratting out their countrymen or whatever it was he was saying. But, you know, listen, entertaining press conference. Devin Haney kept it cool. And I like that, okay? I like that. Because he's trying to rattle him. Kambosos is trying to rattle him and he didn't bite. And big up to Devin Haney for that. Alright, moving on. Let's get into the hurt zone.
His legs are gone. His legs are gone. He's hot. He's hot. He's hot.
Duran just playing on instinct, O'Gill. He's just hanging a big right hand. That's it, Tim. Anytime you fall forward, the fight's over, Tim. A huge right hand by Thomas Hearns.
Okay, so this section is fairly new. I basically highlight when fighters were hurt in the past and, you know, show some video footage and explain why they were hurt and does it pertain to this week's fight. So let's start with George Kambosos Jr. Now, he was hurt recently, obviously, in his last fight against Teofimo Lopez.
The fresher fighter, and in that last round, the 9th round.
Oh, and is that a knockdown? It is!
He was dropped and hurt, and you know, he wasn't terribly hurt when he got dropped, but what he was doing, he kept making the same mistake over and over, which I think is something to look out for in this fight. And that is when you are using the shoulder roll, and not many people really know how to use this, which is why it presents a few dangers for people that don't know how to use it. So if you're in a shoulder roll, okay, your shoulders are very square on like this. Your shoulders facing your opponent, but your body and your torso is facing that way. So the only way for you to really duck a punch is going forward. Okay, and if you're not tucking your shoulder up here, which he doesn't really do.
Big right hand by Teofimo Lopez, landed flush.
Your chin's going to be exposed, which it got clipped on, okay? Because you can't really move your back backwards. It's counterproductive because your balance is lean. It makes you want to lean forwards. So you know, you're not really going to slip a punch going back. You could, but it's even more dangerous. But he was getting caught and he was doing the same thing, okay? He was dipping forward. He wasn't tucking his shoulder up like that, and he was getting either clipped or just being missed. So that is absolutely something to look out for, because he did it about 4 or 5 times in the Lopez fight, straight after being dropped and before it. So, you know, on top of that, when you're down here doing the shoulder roll, the only other place for you to go is to come back up. So there's a left hook. You know, there could be a left hook waiting for you too if they've done their tape film study. You know, that one overhand right and maybe a left hook, that's definitely something for Devin Haney to capitalize on. Can he hurt him like Lopez did? Probably not, but he can certainly score some good shots if he times him right. If Kambosos' feet are still, the other way to evade this is to not set your feet and move back. Once you start committing and going down, you really can't move. So if Kambosos isn't setting his feet, then it's not really a big issue. But it's when your opponent's in the mid-range or presenting their attack and your feet are still, that's when you're in danger, because you're only going to go down. And you know, that's how he got hurt. So that's something to look out for in terms of Devin Haney. Now, look, he got hurt against Linares, and there's a lot of people that have made a big deal out of this. I personally don't, because, like, you know, look, if you look at I'm going to show the footage now, but like, Haney came in, let his hands go, stayed in the pocket, and then actually did what he was supposed to do by moving his head straight after. He actually evaded 3 punches.
Oh, he was wobbling. Devin Haney wobbles back to his corner. And wait a minute.
And then, you know, Linares being a supreme, well, I say supreme, he was a crisp combination puncher, okay? And he caught him with a 4th shot. That's why you're taught to, one of the reasons why you're taught to throw combinations is because one of them is going to get through, you know, and one of them did get through. And, you know, Haney did what he had to do. He moved out the way, he evaded, he slipped, and he was using the shoulder roll, but, you know, that was just a great shot. Haney got hurt, walked back to his corner and shaky legs, got himself together, and then saw the fight out. Boxed quite well and was very mature. Can that happen in this fight? George Kambosos is a really good counterpuncher, and he's a sharp counterpuncher, so I do think that can happen, but maybe not in the same fashion. But Haney's got to be careful when he steps into these exchanges. Kambosos is pretty good with exchanges, and he's got a sharp, speedier, you know, skill set, more skilled than Haney, I think, on the inside with combination exchanges. I think so, and you see that in the Mickey Bay fight. He's ready to go. He's waiting for you. He's a damn good counterpuncher, and not just with one shot. So Haney, you know, look, there's not much more he could have done to avoid that shot. It is what it is. It's boxing. You know, you can do everything you need to do and still get caught with a shot. So those are the two things. Another thing to look out for, they both have really good inside uppercuts.
There's that right uppercut. Beautiful. Fighting on the inside like that. Now it's Haney who's taking the lead.
and actually Linares hurt Haney with an uppercut.
God, Haney pulled him back right there.
Because he wasn't actually moving his head after he got caught in the mid-range. He got clipped with an uppercut. It was a bit of a longer uppercut, but I can see Kambosos definitely catching Haney with an uppercut on the inside. He caught Mickey Bay with a similar shot on an exchange. So those are definitely things to look out for in terms of how each guy's going to maybe significantly hurt each other. Overhand right for Haney, timing Kambosos when he comes down with his chin here without his shoulder there, and possibly a left hook when he comes back up. And then, you know, for Kambosos, some sharp combos on the inside. Specifically an uppercut. So maybe we'll look out for that. That's this week's Hurt Zone.
His legs are gone. His legs are gone. He's hot. He's hot. He's hot. He's hot. He's hot. He's hot.
Okay, moving on to the fight breakdown. Alright, I've thought about this fight a lot. It's like such a fascinating fight. It's going to be a very high-skilled chess match. I do think the Mickey Bay fight is a good blueprint to go off. I'm not saying it's going to be the exact same, but I think it will be a more intense version of that. Look, Devin Haney's a far younger. Mickey Bay was 36 at the time, inactive. It might have even been his last fight. I know he's just fought or is fighting Tevin Farmer like anytime soon or has, but you know that Devin Haney's a younger, fresher, better version of Mickey Bay, I think. You know, he's 23 years old. He's already a world champion. I know it wasn't a legitimate way he got the title, but he's fighting for the Undisputed. I think he's a better version of Mickey Bay. And like I said, younger, fresher. So he's going to present a lot of problems for Kambosos. I really believe that. And for me, Haney has to try to settle into the fight as quick as he can. Okay, he's going to be in the lion's den. He's gonna be in a situation he has never been in before. He has fought away in Mexico in Tijuana, and that is going to serve him well. He's also been in the amateurs for a very long time, fighting in Azerbaijan, Ukraine. All these, you know, amateur experiences are going to serve him well for moments like this. Okay, so he's going to have to summon that energy and try to settle into the fight by using his jab. I would recommend keeping his distance, not get too carried away with exchanges. Just keep it cool and ease into the fight. Okay, you might have to give the first round away. If you need to do that, then do that, you know. But I think in this fight, I think Haney is going to have to be like jab heavy, like he ain't never jabbed before in his life, because that's his best punch. It's his best punch. He's got the reach advantage. He might not have the height. And look, the speed is very similar. I still favor Kambosos very slightly. But speed's an interesting thing, because I've seen Haney flash his hands. And like, when you use your speed more, you're actually using more energy. So I think he has got the speed there, but I think he chooses just to fight at a lower pace, like speed-wise, because it can be exhausting. And I don't think he's ever been in as good a shape as Kambosos. Kambosos is a serious gym rat, and he's always in superb shape. So that's one of the reasons I think why he can get away with being so fast so much. Just my opinion, because I know that Teddy Atlas said that he thought Devin Haney was quicker, but I disagree. I disagree, Teddy. But anyway, look, I think Devin Haney's got to use the jab more than he's ever used it. He's got to get creative with the jab, okay? And what I mean by that is, you know, feint with the jab, come around with the hook.
Haney. And he set that up with jabs. He was coming up short with the jab.
Come back with the jab. They love doing that in the Mayweather gym. You know, they're very jab happy, leading with it and finishing with it, okay? Finishing combinations with it, you know, that can shut down a combination from Kambosos. If he's in the pocket with exchanges, boom, stick the jab in his face. Haney's got to use the jab, and he's got to be wise with his exchanges, and with those exchanges he has to be very careful, okay, because Kambosos, like I said, is very sharp with them.
Right hand connects.
And sometimes exchanges, it's very hard to tell who's winning those. You know, you can hear these like blistering shots go off, and like it's like, unless it's a really clean shot, it's sometimes not that easy to tell. And you know, when that happens, you know the crowd's going to roar and the judges are going to like, yeah, oh yeah, it's a Kambosos round. So I don't think exchanges are going to favor Haney. You know, like I said, he's got that 1-2. I think he should certainly be calculated with that, but I think that should be something he should be looking forward to, with a left hook as an option if Kambosos ducks down as well. And he's just got to be patient and fight his way through, and he's going to have to dig in the later rounds, because Kambosos is going to turn it on. He's going to turn it on, and he's going to be there, and he's going to make Haney, you know, he's going to make him fight, really, or try to make him fight for the majority of the fight. He's going to put a lot of pressure on Kambosos, and, you know, Haney's going to be in one hell of a test. And, you know, in terms of what Kambosos has to do, he has to do what he always does, you know. He has to apply that calculated, clever pressure, you know. And if you're Kambosos, you don't want to have Haney to settle into the fight, I wouldn't have thought. Apply that front foot pressure. Kambosos is excellent at range control. He's very good at gauging the distance, especially that jab. And, you know, speaking of the jab, Haney should double it up, triple it up, because that way it backs Kambosos up a little bit, give him a little bit of time. And round by round, you know, you just edge your way into the fight and keep doing that. But Kambosos, he has to, you know, apply the pressure and he win the exchanges if there are some. I don't think Kambosos can win the jab contest because he's got a decent jab himself, but you're dealing with a serious jabber, you know. Devin Haney's jab is excellent, you know, and Kambosos will be looking to time that jab with the counter left hook as well. That's one of his better punches. And so, you know, Haney's got to make sure he keeps his right hand up. But, you know, Kambosos, I think, slowly should turn the heat up. And, you know, I think the championship rounds in this fight, as they are in most fights, are going to be so important. But for Kambosos, he has to put in the performance of his lifetime, I think, to be honest with you, because skill for skill, match for match, I'm picking Haney. I'm picking Haney on skill. I would say youth. Kambosos is young too, but like, I honestly don't think they wanted this fight against Devin Haney. I really don't. You know, he just got away with beating Mickey Bay, and that was an older version. Dropped him in the last round to get a split decision. Listen, he put in a great performance, but Kambosos can be sharply outboxed with someone that's got a good jab. And Devin Haney's got a good jab, and he's got the reach just like Mickey Bay did. You know, there are concerns about Devin Haney fading a little late, so I hope he's putting in a hell of a training camp because he's going to need it. He's going to need it, but I'm going to go with Devin Haney, and I'm going to go with a clear win for Devin Haney, okay? I think Devin Haney is going to outbox George Kambosos. I think his jab is going to be the key weapon. I think he's going to fight a disciplined fight, and I think he is going to put on one hell of a breakout performance. I really do. You know, I just want us to have a really, really good fight, and may the best man win. I think George Kambosos Jr. has already probably got the judges on his side, so I don't even know what the score they're going to come up with, but I think Haney is going to outbox George Kambosos in a clear, unanimous decision. Will he get the judges on his side? Probably not. Probably not. So what are you saying? A split decision, George Kambosos Jr.? It's a shame, isn't it, really, that we have to constantly talk about this, but at the end of the day, hopefully the fans will know who won. I think, you know, it's going to be a great event. It might not be the best fight if Devin Haney does what he really can do and has done in the past, and that's put on, you know, a bit of a dull jab fest. Although, you know, he's more recently he's been drawn into trying to prove his strength a little bit. But Kambosos isn't necessarily the physically strongest guy you've ever seen, you know, but neither's Devin Haney, so that will be interesting. But, you know, I'm going to go with Devin Haney. I know he's the favourite, but I really think he's going to put on a great performance. I really do. And then he'll probably end up getting a rematch in Australia and losing again. I say losing, I mean like losing on the cards by the judges. But look, fantastic fight for boxing. You know, I was saying the other day, boxing's in a healthy place, and the Hall of Fame analyst Al Bernstein tweeted that out as well. He can't remember a year being so good. This is just, we have to celebrate this. Whoever you're supporting, just like boxing fans, win. You know, that's all we can ask for, to get good fights and get these, the best fight and the best undisputed lightweight title on the line. And we've got more fights coming up the end of this year. I can't wait for the rest of these. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think Kambosos is going to outbox Devin Haney? Do you think the judges are going to be fair? Let me know what all you think. Boxing on the edge. Take care of yourself. I'll see you soon.
Boxing.
On the edge.